evening. I'm Nisa Petrilli.
I'm Jay Kaplan.
I'm Steve Ferguson.
And I am Sean Roman.
And this is the On the Sports Lines annual MidSummer Classic Edition. July 4th not only marks our nation's birthday, but also the midpoint of the baseball season. As we do every year at this time, we're going to take a look at where things are for the Yankees, Mets, and the rest of Major League Baseball, with this year's theme being surprises. We'll also weigh in on LeBron taking his talents to LA, as well as the quarterfinals matchups in the World Cup. As always, you can find us on social media. Follow us on Twitter @OnTheSportsLines and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/OnTheSportsLines. The Yankees are certainly living up to their Bronx Bombers nickname this season, belting home runs at a ridiculous clip en route to a 56-28 record. They trail the Red Sox by 1 game in the AL East. We're going to look at 2 surprises, 1 pitcher and 1 player, and grade their manager. Sean, which pitcher has surprised you the most this season?
Luis Severino has absolutely surprised me. He's surprised the American League. He has surprised the world. The numbers he's putting up are both Cy Young worthy and possibly MVP worthy by the end of the year. You look at it right now, 13-2. Nobody matches that type of win-loss record. ERA under 2, just under 2. And the way he is throwing, he comes out like the closer, like the relief pitcher who is meant to throw an inning. With the amount of heat that he is throwing, 7% of his pitches are over 99%. His fastball average is about 97%. I don't know if he's going to blow his arm out very quick and he's going to be an extreme flash in the pan, because this type of heat, keeping up with it, to me, is just inhuman. The one thing that saves him is 50% of his pitches are not the fastball. He relies a lot on the slider, so that should help his durability somewhat. But throwing that high heat for such a prolonged time is not great for a modern-day pitcher. Severino, he is approaching Ron Guidry numbers.
He is.
Ron Guidry in 1978 set the strikeout record, and Severino right now is on pace to break that. 25-3. I think Severino's probably going to have more than 1 loss, over the course of the season. I don't think he's going to have a better winning percentage, but by the end of the year, if he doesn't blow out his arm, he's going to have the Yankee strikeout record.
So, Steve, which player has surprised you the most so far this season?
Well, the player that surprised me the most for the Yankees has to be Gleyber Torres. He was the former #1 pick that the Yankees got from the Cubs last year, and he has totally lived up to his billing. This guy is hitting around 290. He plays incredibly great defense at second base, and he consistently hits the ball. But I think the thing that most impresses me is the power this guy has. He already has 15 home runs, and he really plays like a veteran player, and he's so young at age 21 years old. It's amazing. He's on the DL for the next 10 days with a hip strain. But I have to tell you, if the Yankees didn't have this guy at second base, I don't know where they'd be.
So, Jay, what grade would you give Aaron Boone at the midway point?
Well, I kind of got to give him an A. I mean, I said back in April that no rookie manager has ever walked into a better situation. And he gets the A partly because he's kind of kept the train running and didn't derail what the team started last year. He's done a great job of moving players in and out and up and down the lineup based on matchups, the need to rest players, and due to injuries. He hasn't overused any one reliever, that something that was fairly or unfairly a knock on Girardi. And considering the inconsistency of the starting rotation, that's been no small thing for Boone. Here's the thing, though. The return to dominant form of Dylan Betances has kind of helped that for him, and he's done a really good job of incorporating a couple of rookies, Torres, who you just talked about, and Miguel Andujar, which is also not easy. Look, he created a positive vibe both on the field, in the locker room. He hasn't looked overwhelmed or overmatched. Team got off to a slow start. He took some heat for it. He shepherded them through it. And he's got them with one of the best records in baseball, despite the fact that you've got guys like Sanchez and Walker and Bird still hitting under the Mendoza line, and outside of Severino, as Sean put, and Sabathia, he doesn't know what he's going to get from his rotation. To me, that guarantees that you get an A in my book. I mean, they gave the keys to a Lamborghini to a guy I'd never driven before, and so far so good, man. He gets an A.
Very true. The Mets have come a long way since their 11-1 start. Remember that? Unfortunately, that long way has been in a steep downward direction en route to a 34-49 record. They are 14 games behind the NL East leading Braves and have the fewest wins in the National League. They've still had some surprises. We're going to look at two: one pitcher, one player, and grade their manager. Sean, which pitcher has surprised you the most so far this season?
Well, the Mets' futility has been so tragic in being 10 games over 500 and now setting records into how bad a team could get that was once 10 games over 500 that it surprises me that anybody could remain solid on the team. And Jacob deGrom has pitched excellent.
Yeah.
He has not let that losing atmosphere and the fatigue of just not being able to get over the hump get to him. He has went out there and pitched a 1.84 ERA. If you asked who leads the National League in ERA, it's on one of the worst teams in the league, in the Mets. Jacob deGrom has done absolutely incredible. It shows why you just can't trade an ace like him when you have him for 2 more years. He started 17 games. Guys, look at this. If you remember back, I know you will, they played, he left the game in April with a 5-run lead against the Nationals.
Yes.
It got blown from him. He didn't get the win. End of May against the Braves, left in the 8th inning with a 2-1 lead. Seth Lugo blew it. 3 times through over 7 innings, giving up 0 or 1 runs, didn't get the win. And also another 3 times, leading after 8 innings, did not get the win. Jacob deGrom has been absolutely sensational, and the fact that he could do this through such adversity is shocking to me and shows me what effective and terrific player the Mets still have on their hands to build on.
Yep.
Absolutely.
True. So, Steve, which player has surprised you the most so far this season?
Well, in a year of almost total despair for every Met fan who's been watching this team, thank God we have Brandon Nimmo. He's been the one bright spot on the offense. This is a guy who was the 14th pick in the draft about 4 or 5 years ago, and this was the same draft that had Fernandez, the late Jose Fernandez that the Miami Marlins drafted. This guy came out of high school. Nobody really thought he was going to be anything spectacular, and he really has been. Now, lately, his average has dropped a little bit. He's down to 265, but he does have 12 home runs. And what he really has, in addition to that, is a great positive spirit, almost the way deGrom does pitching-wise. His energy, his attitude, defensively, he's been playing well. He steals bases, scores runs, and really has turned into a very, very capable leadoff hitter. And I think if everybody on the Mets played like this guy, we would never be anywhere close to being under 500.
He's a guy who truly appreciates the opportunity he's been given.
That's true.
He really
so, Jay,
does.
what grade would you give Mickey Callaway at the midway
Well,
point?
you know, if my pal Steve was doing this segment, Mickey Callaway would get a big honking F. Now, granted, Callaway has looked overmatched, overwhelmed a lot of the time. He gets a D from me because, A, the 11-1 start, so he did something right when they came out of the gate. And he's a rookie, so I'm going to give him a little bit of a slide there. Look, the injury bug has bitten the Mets big time. You know, they're 26th in MLB in runs scored. They're 28th in batting average, 26th in OPS. Cespedes has only played 37 games and is out till the end of July. Bruce has missed 20 so far and is expected to be out till mid-July. Lagares, Darno out for the season. Syndergaard's out till mid-July with a strained ligament in his right thumb. The rotation's been inconsistent other than deGrom, as Sean noted. Vargas is on the DL, which is probably a blessing because he's been atrocious.
It actually is.
The overuse of Gesellman, which I talked about in our opening day show, has caught up to him. He's lost his effectiveness. And only Seth Lugo's doing anything of note in that bullpen. Look, Callaway hasn't done himself any favors by harping on the pressure of playing and managing New York, especially when you look on the other side of the Throgs Neck or Whitestone Bridge, and his fellow rookie manager is doing a bang-up job under a lot more pressure. It's not all on Callaway, but it's enough that he gets a D from me.
Well, it's time now to go around MLB and play Buy, Hold, Sell as we look at some more first-half surprises. Sean and Steve will look at one team from each league that has played above expectations, and Jay will look at one player that has really surprised him. Steve, which NL team has exceeded expectations so far this season?
If you're a Met fan, it's the team that never goes away in your mind. And as much as it pains me to say it, it has to be the Atlanta Braves. No one expected this team with a group of rookies and very young players to be as good as they've been. When you look at They have a guy named Ozzie Albies, a second baseman, 21 years of age, plays the hell out of second base as well as anybody I've ever seen. Offensively gets the job done. Defensively, great speed, hustles on every ball. This guy has 17 home runs already, which is insane. And you look at Ronald Acuna, who was out part of the year with injuries. This guy's 20 years old. People are looking at him probably as the next Andruw Jones. Let's hope he has a more consistent career than that. But he has the entire package at 20 years of age, and I saw the home run he did against the Yankees, and it was just shocking how well this guy's come together.
Yeah.
The other thing they have, which people didn't think they had, was a pretty decent starting rotation. The pitcher that most surprised me in that group is a guy named Sean Newcomb. I know the Yankees hit him hard the other day, but he's 8-3. And before that, I thought the only ace they had was Julio Teheran, who absolutely terrorizes the Mets. They can't do a thing with him. But Newcomb is terrific, and Snitker, their manager, has done an excellent job with this team.
So, Sean, which AL team has exceeded expectations this season?
The Red Sox have been absolutely sensational. Following the Yankees, they're on every day, they're talked about in the press, seeing their great relief, those great bats, a decent starting pitching. They're putting up these amazing numbers, and sometimes they're not even in first place. They're either the first or second best team in Major League Baseball, depending on what day of the week you look at the Yankees. Red Sox, I mean, I mentioned 1978 before. That was when only one team got in the playoffs. And this year it may come down to the Yankees and the Red Sox. There's a late September series that could define who plays in a one-game playoff between these two awesome teams. Their excellent starting pitching staff, Chris Sale leading the way at about 10-5, has been outstanding. Their number 5 pitcher, Eduardo Rodriguez, he's 9-3. And being led with 25 home runs, J.D. Martinez, fantastic year.
He really is.
I mean, just the law of odds says one of these two teams is not going to be able to near a 700 winning percentage as they go forward, if not both. I don't know which one's going to drop off, but you know, they both have really impressed so far, the Yankees and the Red Sox.
It's true. So, Jay, what player has been the biggest surprise at the midway point?
Well, you know, usually when we say a player is a shadow of his former self, it's a bad thing. But in the case of Dodgers outfielder Matt Kemp in the season he's having so far, it's not. No. I mean, other than, let's say, Astro starter Garrett Cole, who's 9-2 with a 2.50 ERA after a couple of mediocre years, no player has surprised me in the first half than Kemp, who seems to have literally gone back in time and found his game. I mean, Steve, you'll remember the year he had in 2011, you know, when he kind of pushed himself into the best player conversation with the likes of Mike Trout. 324, right?
Year.
Finished second to Ryan Braun. 324, 399, 586 slash line, 39 homers, 126 RBI, 40 steals, won a Gold Glove in center field. I mean, the Dodgers gave him an 8-year, $160 million contract out of that. It's a contract he's still playing on. Though since 2011, his numbers have been fair to middling, but not worthy of that contract. You know, got caught up in the celebrity lifestyle, did not really come in ready to play, got shipped out to San Diego, bounced from there to Atlanta. The Dodgers brought him back this year, and they told him flat out, this is a financial thing. We're looking at your contract as one we can flip maybe down the road. He said all he wanted was a chance, showed up in shape, showed up with a better work ethic. 318, 354, 557 slash line, 15 homers, 55 RBIs. He's been a lineup mainstay. He's carried this team at various points as they've, you know, kind of crawled out of that 16 for 26 start, you know, to where they are now half a game out of the NL West. I'm only holding. I'm not buying in yet because he had such an awful June. I'm going to hold off. But you know what? He still had good numbers at homers and RBIs. So, and he's picking up in July. I'm holding, but I'm pulling for this guy.
Yeah, so am I.
On our NBA draft show, our Anthony Strait swore up and down that there was no way LeBron would go to the Lakers.
That's nice.
It's a rant worth watching.
It is.
Well, here we are 2 weeks later, and King James has done just that, agreeing to a 4-year, $154 million contract to wear the purple and gold. What does this mean for LeBron, the Lakers, and the Warriors' stranglehold on the West? Our guys weigh in. Sean, was this really the right move for LeBron?
One player makes a free agency move, and all of a sudden, his team becomes championship favorites. Isn't that amazing?
It's a little ridiculous, though.
It's a little strange.
That man's name is John Tavares. And he is going to the Maple Leafs, which is actually the much bigger move right now. And as an Islander fan,
I know it
I am
pains you.
sadly going to miss him, but I wish Tavares the best.
He's going
because
home.
Yes,
he
he
gave
is
his
going
heart
home.
and soul, and the Islanders did not put the infrastructure around him, did they?
But
Yeah.
Back to LeBron.
James, which is not even as significant, but still, it's a nice leading story. You know, this move did not put them, which is why I mentioned Tavares, did not put them as betting favorites against the Warriors. It's going to make LA, with a rich championship pedigree, a lot more interesting. It may make LeBron happier. I mean, when he was within Cleveland, he went as far as he could go. He has 1 win, and how many is that? 3 losses in the final, 4 losses, or whatever it is in the final with them. You know, he's did what he could. He gave Cleveland their first championship in whatever, however,
52 years.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so long. So he's like, thank you very much. I need a change in scenery. I think everybody understands this, like us Islander fans, and it's like, good luck, LeBron. You bring a lot of fun to the NBA, and everybody around you seems to get better. So the players who are playing with him, that's what I expect.
So, Steve, how much closer does this now put the Lakers to the Warriors?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to give them the NBA Finals Championship award yet.
The Twitterverse will hate you now.
Yeah. But I will say that this probably gets them into the playoffs for the first time in a number of years. I think now you can say they are probably a little better than the Denver Nuggets. You can probably say, especially with DeMarcus Cousins leaving the Pelicans, they are now better than that team as well. So what I'm really thinking is they're probably a 6 seed at this point.
Okay.
But what they've also done is the free agent signings along with LeBron that make them very interesting.
Yeah, I'll talk about that.
These guys are all one-year signees, and you look at who they've signed: Rajon Rondo, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. They've also signed up
Lance Stevenson and JaVale McGee. You're
That should
stealing
be
my
very
thunder here,
interesting,
Steven.
because those two have not gotten along for years. They always are antagonists on the court. But their experience now as a group and their defense will make them a much better team.
So, Jay,
He set me up.
There we
what
go.
about all the players being added around LeBron? Are they done yet?
No, look, they may try and add another shooter on or before training camp, but the 3 veterans, that they just really signed, and Steve kind of nailed it right there. They fit roles that are very specific on the court, and the big role off the court, as Steve talked about, is the fact that they're all on 1-year deals. Lance Stephenson's a utility guy. He can do a whole lot of different things pretty well on both sides of the ball. He will have to stop blowing in LeBron's ear because they're teammates now. He's a wild card like J.R. Smith, but I think he has a better basketball IQ.
Yeah.
JaVale McGee's a rim protector, something LeBron really didn't have in Cleveland. This is a guy who's effective at scoring around the bucket. In 2 years in Golden State, his per 36-minute numbers: 21 points, 11 boards, and 3+ blocks, 64% field goal percentage. Rajon Rondo is that second consistent ball handler, someone who can run an offense, so LeBron doesn't have to handle the ball every dang trip down the floor. He's still a decent on-ball defender, can get out to the lane, make some steals. He's not going to shoot a lot, but he can hit his shots when he needs to, and he's going to challenge Lonzo Ball for the starting point guard because Bonzo's coming off a bit of a meniscus injury. Here, look, the 1-year contracts is the big deal. The Lakers are all playing for 2019. They're going to only have $76 million in contracts. They're going to have plenty of room to pick up guys. Clay, KD, Kawhi, because all those 4
Jay,
rookies.
it's World Cup time.
I know you want World Cup, but here's the thing. They got rookies on rookie deals. It's an audacious plan. It's a little crazy, but Magic's going for it, and LeBron's buying in, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Well, Sean, the knockout round of the 2018 World Cup has knocked out some pre-tournament favorites and sent home some big-name players, including Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. This leaves us with quarterfinals matchups featuring Brazil versus Belgium, England versus Sweden, France versus Uruguay, and Russia versus Croatia. Jay, which matchup are you looking at?
I wanted to get to this as much as you did, Sean, because the team I bought in on our preview show, England, is in the quarters. Granted, they had a little bit of luck, had to exercise the penalty kick ghost of past World Cup pass to get there. But, they're here. Here's the thing, though. They're playing a team like Sweden, who is content to sit back, counterattack. They're not all about possession. So the fact that England's going to dominate the ball is not going to be a big deal. Can they actually do something with it? 51% possession rate against Colombia. 2 shots on goal. They got to do better than that. Here's the thing. I said Harry Kane had to carry the offensive load he has. He leads the World Cup with 6 goals, 3 on penalties, 2 on corners, 1 off the back of his foot when he wasn't even looking. They have yet to be able to get this guy the goal, the ball in space with a good shot on goal. But then again, Sean, as you're well aware, when's the last time England had, midfielders who can actually send a pass 40 yards downfield and get it to a guy like Kane? Look, Sweden may have a weakness. You can get at them from the sides of their defense, and if they can get that going, then they have a shot. But they cannot rely on set pieces against a team like Sweden if they're going to make it through the quarters.
Steve?
Well, the game I'm looking at is Brazil versus Belgium.
Marquee matchup right there,
I think
dude.
this will be one of the best matchups going into the quarterfinals. And I know everybody who watches soccer, and those of us who watch less of it, and I will admit I'm one of them, we would all assume Brazil is the leading scoring team.
Neymar.
Surprise, it's actually Belgium.
Yeah.
And Belgium actually has outscored them by five more goals. That's the first thing you look at. And the next thing you look at when you talk about them is you look at the 12 goals that Belgium has scored against the 4 they've allowed in the tournament. So that's another big factor. But what I'm also looking at in this is the scoring of Belgium. You look at Lukaku and Hazard is their captain and their leader. These guys both have 4 goals in the tournament already. Belgium's bench is also another factor to look at. That's going to be very interesting to see how Feliciano and Chadou play. And I think also when
Fellini.
Fellini, sorry. And also when you look at Brazil, now Brazil has a psychological edge because they certainly know how to win championships, but maybe if there's any year for Belgium to come out of this and possibly upset Brazil, this might be their time.
Yeah.
Sean?
I'll look at the other 2 games. Uruguay, they're playing, and they're playing France. These are 2 excellent teams. The way the World Cup matches up, 11 times the World Cup has been won by European teams. 9 times it's been won by South American teams. It used to be 9-9. Europeans on a 2-match winning streak. I got to think to balance it, one of these South American teams, just by the law of odds, is going to win. Uruguay, they wear 4 stars on their shirt. They got 2 World Cups. They hosted the first one. They're such a small country. And before there was the World Cup, there was actually the Olympics, which determined the World Championship. They won in 24, 28. They won the World Cup in 30. And then against 50 against a great Brazil. They're led by Luis Suarez.
Yes.
And another one of their forwards is quite injured. You know, they are going to really come forward. They're very strong. France is going to be a tough bet. Suarez always brings that team as far as they could go. I'm hoping they win. France also has an up-and-coming star, maybe the next Messi and Rolando, and a 19-year-old Frenchman named Mbappe. Everybody's now pleading for his services. This is the stars-born moment. Also, in the Russia-Croatia game, Russia, they have not really had the hardest route. You know, they're sort of playing that South Korea route from 2012.
Right.
You know, maybe they could beat Croatia. Croatia, you know, they used to be a governed territory by Russia. Their population do not like the Russians. As opposed to other teams, they're playing with a little extra motivations against the big guys. So I expect them to come out and show their dominance because they've won also every other game. So I'm looking at Croatia to win that game. Russia deserves a lot of congratulations because they were the 70th ranked team, and to get to this point is phenomenal.
True. Well, that music means it's time for the 3-minute warning. Sean, lead us off.
Compared to the World Cup, all other sports events are as significant as pickup games. But one thing is taking off the shine on the event of this go-around, and that is the strange breaks in the action and players running around mimicking the symbol of a rectangle to beg for video review. This VAR has led to more penalties than in any other World Cup, and that is terrible for the game. Soccer is so low scoring that the game should not be decided on a review, where the refs find some technical violation within the penalty box. Penalties should be rare and reserved for significant violations. There's a famous phrase from an old German coach named Sepp Herberger that sums up the simplicity and unpredictability of soccer. Der Ball ist rund. It has explained the last century and more of soccer, and I don't want this to be the symbol of the next century of the game.
Mickey Callaway, worst choice ever to manage the Mets. Hard to believe, but true. I have followed the plight of the blue and orange for over 45 years. In their rather unique history, I've honestly never seen them any worse than they've been in this unseemingly deplorable 2018 season. I could never have fathomed a team that started 12-2 would have their current record be almost the worst in baseball at 34-49 in just 3 months' time. Mickey, somehow you managed to plunge this team into the depths of despair like no other manager has ever done to the Mets. I thought the worst was the late 70s and early 80s when future Hall of Famer Joe Torre managed his first team ever and was compelled to work with a young, underwhelming squad. Or perhaps the early 90s when Jeff Torborg came on board and destroyed our fans' souls, plunging them into laughable baseball oblivion, even with talents such as Bonilla, Saberhagen, Murray, and Coleman. But Mickey, with your putrid, blasé spirit, lack of fire and passion, and a squad bereft of talent, direction, and nary an ounce of focus, you've proven to be the worst with no clue how to manage or motivate anyone. It's time for us to get rid of you before the season ends, so maybe we can remember what good baseball used to be.
Way back on February 26, 2009, on our MLB spring training show for that year, I talked about a young outfielder that was competing with Melky Cabrera for the Yankee center field job. I talked this kid up, saying in my estimation he was the best guy for the job. He was a better leadoff hitter, he was faster, he could patrol just as much ground in center field as Cabrera, and he was a true base stealer, something Melky was not. I went on to say that if this kid could hit anywhere from 250 to 275, he's got the job and the Yankees are better off. If you haven't guessed by now, the kid I was talking about was Brett Gardner. Gardy actually made his Yankee debut on June 30th of 2008, going 0-for-3 with a steal and a 2-1 loss to the Rangers. He played semi-regularly for the rest of the season, splitting time between left and center, hitting .228 with 13 steals in 42 games. Gardner did win the center field job in 2009. Despite losing it for part of the season and missing August with a broken thumb, he proved me right. He hit .270, he stole 26 bases, and he caught just about everything that stayed in the park for a World Series champion. And since then, Gardy has been the heart, the soul, the grit of the Yankees. Last week marked a decade in pinstripes for the longest tenured Yankee. On a team that gets younger by the day, Gardner has been the one they go to, the one they look to. He sets the tone by both word and deed. He is the inheritor of Derek Jeter's captaincy in every way, and it's time the Yankees made it official. He was my guy back in 2009, and I've stuck with him ever since. Congrats, Brett.
And the rich get richer, or maybe the great Golden State robbery? Whatever you want to call it, this is getting ridiculous.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm starting to think Steve Kerr has some dirt on Adam Silver that we don't know about. Because Boogie Cousins is going to the Bay Area.
Yep.
Look, I realize that he's coming off Achilles surgery and that this is somewhat of a risk. However, the Warriors essentially just replaced role player JaVale McGee with all-star DeMarcus Cousins. For the first time in decades, a team will start 5 all-stars from the prior year.
Wow.
This is like giving Darth Vader a third Death Star after his first 2 got blown up. I mean, I'm a basketball fan, but moves like this are starting to impact the watchability of games. I'm not interested in knowing at the start of the season who is going to win the championship. I am interested in watching great teams rise to the occasion and go on improbable runs, push other great teams to their limits, and make things interesting. All due respect to the Golden State front office for assembling this roster, but I just don't think this is a good idea for the NBA. For Jay Kaplan, Steve Ferguson, and Sean Roman, I'm Nisa Petrilli. Thanks for spending part of your evening with us. We'll see you on July 19th for the On the Sportslines NFL Training Camp edition. And remember, if you want to see this show again or catch up on any of the ones you might have missed, check us out at youtube.com/onthesportslines. And check out Anthony's piece on the now infamous Nets Celtics trade of 2013 at onthesportslines.blogspot.com. Good night, everyone.
Feel better, Anthony.